like that circle. Death, taxes, 85 will always go.
So welcome to Bengals Real Talk. Today we have my boy Nardo on. We're gonna do it to the throwback, just like how we originally started. So we're gonna talk about a couple of things. The hot take of Pacman Jones that just came in. We also gonna talk about the Bengals and how we see free agency playing out, what we think that they should do, how they should go about it. We'll also dive into the draft, which is a hot topic right now, which directions we could go in, what are some angles that we can go in with there, and then we'll wrap things up with how the Bengals can make it back to the postseason. So we had a down year, and we want to kind of see how we can bounce back and get back into there. So with that being said, Nardo, should we kick it off with the Pacman Jones thing?
We just got to, because it seems like everybody right now is in the oh my God stage, whatever, and if everybody's freaking out like, oh, he should be cut tomorrow. Look, it's pretty much, it's kind of like the Ray Rice situation. Even though he didn't we didn't no video of him putting his hand on anybody. But what I mean in that sense is that when we heard what Ray Rice did, everybody was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's terrible what he did. But when the video come out, then everybody just seemed like they just went crazy with it.
Right.
So this is a little video that basically confirmed everything that I think we already knew. We knew that he was belligerent. We knew he was drunk. And everything. Should he, I'm not in no way informed that I'm saying that that he, that's okay or anything like that. I'm not saying that, whatever and everything. But also, we live in a world that things like this happen. I mean, it's plenty of video of people saying way worse words. Let's go back to Riley Cooper.
Right.
Drunk at the concert, whatever, saying racial slurs.
Right.
I mean, that almost look like make Pac-Man look like your little kid, whatever, as far as based off some of the things that was said.
Right.
So once again, is he wrong for what he said? Yes. Should he be punished? Yes. How far should he be punished? I think the Bengals going to actually let the league decide that. I doubt that this would be a punishment that would be down from Marvin Lewis or even Mike Brown.
Right.
I think they kind of in a wait-and-see situation, and due to it's right now it's misdemeanors, and now here in Cincinnati we got the prosecutor kind of stepping back, kind of tiptoeing around the situation. It tells me that hey, that whatever he's accused of with us really is not that big of a deal. If not, he would have probably been in court. What was that? Early January the 10th or something? I think that they pushed January the 10th. Now they pushed the court date to February the 10th.
Right.
So that's my whole take, whatever and everything. Will he probably get in trouble? Yeah, he probably will get. I mean, it depends on what type of mood Roger in. We know how that goes.
Right.
Probably a 2-game suspension or something like that. But I'm not. I mean, I think this is gonna be thrown out of court. It really, it's going to blow past. That's kind of how the Bengals treating you. As you can see, they don't talk. It's quiet.
Right.
It just, and then everybody like, oh, my God, he got a track record of being in trouble. It's kind of funny, though. One of the beat writers here in Cincinnati made a statement the other day. Pac-Man really ain't been in trouble since 2008.
Right.
A lot of people don't know it, whatever. They kind of reference, what about the slapping the girl thing? He technically, whatever, Pac-Man wasn't arrested for that, whatever and everything. He was accused of it. He went to court for it and was found not guilty, but he wasn't nothing that he was arrested for or anything like that. So technically, he has not been in trouble since 2008, which we almost coming up on 10 years. So
right. See, I think I agree with a lot of what you said, and I think that the thing that scares me the most is what is Roger Goodell gonna do? I know what the Bengals are going to do. I know, Pac-Man, we already know that he's a little bit hot-headed. And, like you said, we've all been in that area when it comes to drinking alcohol and, acting belligerent ourselves sometimes. So my biggest thing is, what is Roger Goodell going to do? And that's really the wild card to me, because it seems like anytime that we kind of get into it with the league, or whether it's some kind of disciplining that they have to do to us, I don't know if they have a hidden agenda against us. You know, I don't know if it's what it is, but you know, you look at the Vontaze Burfict situation, and I mean, to me, that was more so Vontaze kind of caught the brunt of him trying to make an example of us, and that's what I fear that Goodell is going to try to do in this situation, even though it's like totally different. But I think coming from a league year where we saw the whole Kaepernick situation where, you know, the patriotism and, you know, the respecting of authority, I really think what's going to hurt him from this video standpoint is because a lot of, whether it's the NFL politics or what so you have, there is a lot of people don't really like policemen being disrespected. So I could see the NFL getting on this whole agenda of, you know, let's protect our police, let's respect them and all of that. And I feel like Roger Goodell could try to, in a sense, try to discipline Pacman and try to send a message at the same time. So I'm hoping that's not what's going to happen here. But I think with TMZ doing what they did, and, you know, and the other thing is they only released a couple of snippets of an 18-minute video that they claim is out there, and we've only seen...
Yeah, it's actually 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
It's 20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes of him just basically cussing out. It's no spitting. He didn't spit on the police officer or nothing like that. It's just 20 minutes of basically, I mean, you could tell the police officer would deal with drunk people all the time because he was so calm and stuff about the situation and stuff like that. The whole ride to the Justice Center downtown, whatever, from the Millennium Hotel. Right. But it was just 20 minutes of his rant, whatever. You could tell that he's belligerent and drunk. But like you said, I agree with you. It depends on Roger Goodell. But the thing about it, though, Pacman has been working with the NFL probably for over the past 5 years as far as doing a lot of the rookie symposiums and all that, whatever they think. Right. So I think Roger is not too hard on because they know the transformation, especially, like I said, it's been almost 10 years since he's had any real trouble. And right now, it's not even no significant amount of evidence besides him being belligerent and drunk. Right. So, I mean, how much they going to take the heart? Who knows, whatever. Right. I mean, but I don't think it's, let me ask you this question. If let's just say, what's the harshest punishment you think Roger could do that you, with this situation?
I mean, thinking about what you said with the 2 games, I'm trying to think of a similar situation that isn't Ray Rice, because Ray Rice was like a totally different situation because you beating on a whole other scale. Right.
And this is not even on a Michael Floyd, which I'm drunk.
Right.
I could have killed somebody and at the whatever. Right. So I mean, this and you gotta. I mean, it's one of those. Where do this fall in? Where in the lines do this fall between though?
Right. I mean, I think like you said, you're looking at a 2-game suspension. I mean, I don't know if Roger would really try to. I feel like if we're going on the harsh end, I think Roger would go with 8 games. Didn't he give Pacman 8 games before or something like that back in the day? Like a while ago, like a minute ago, the last time.
Hey, I can remember. I think he was out the whole one whole year though.
It was one. I don't know if it was Pacman. I might be wrong, but it was like 1 year where I think he was out for like 8 games or something. It was some kind of It was somebody on the Bengals, and he set them out for 8 games. It might have actually been Ray Maluga for like the banned substance abuse or whatever. I don't know who it was, but I think at worst probably 8 games. But I think, like you said, with the Bengals sticking by him and not really saying anything, they were probably, and some of the conversations that we've had that with stuff that people aren't privy to, I think we kind of know. They kind of knew that this was out there before it was released. So I think, like you said, if they're not doing anything and they're standing by them, and knowing what we know with what led up to the situation, I think like you said, they'll stand by them, and I think at worst 8 games. 8 games is what I think.
And take in mind, like you said, Pacman's been Pacman's been at Paul Brown Stadium over the past. Well, he went out of town for quite some time. He went to Atlanta. I guess he went to the Bengals, whatever, right after the situation, right. And and he met with the Brown family and as well as with Marvin Lewis. So they had that they talk about, and I'm quite sure they asked him exactly what happened, I'm quite sure he was upfront and honest because it's going to get released, whatever. So you need to be upfront and honest on how you even got to that point, and as far as that situation.
Right.
So he's been back in the Bengals facility that I know for sure over the past week since he's been back from Atlanta. So I don't know. I think if you felt some type of way, maybe he would have been trying to stay away from him. Like they told him, most teams would be like, hey, just stay away from the facility, stuff like that until we get through with this. In no way, shape that they're giving out that type of vibe down there. So, I don't know. Let me ask you this question: how do you think that affects the season, as far as which way they should go, as far as with the cornerback room?
To me, I think it almost guarantees, because with them not knowing exactly what Goodell is going to do, I think it almost forces their hand to keep Dre, which I think that they were going to keep Dre anyway. But if it wasn't for it being Pacman Jones, I kind of like Pacman. I kind of cheer for him or whatever. I kind of feel like, the fact that he's on Instagram, we get to kind of see his family, the family side of him. That kind of puts a soft spot in my heart for him. But say, for instance, if it was somebody that I really didn't care about, I would honestly straight up cut that dude, keep the money, and put that $6 million per year that he's getting towards Kevin Zeitler. That's what I would do if it wasn't Pac-Man. But I think that this guarantees, and honestly, we're kind of in the best situation for something like this to happen because we're deep at corner. So we have Dre that we can bring back. You have a William Jackson III that you can throw in there. You have a Darqueze Dennard. You have a Kivari Russell who had, on his first snap out there, an interception. I mean, you have players. So to me, even if, like, in the situation that's not likely that they would cut Pacman Jones, I really don't think that you would have to draft a corner in the first round to replace him. I think we're in a good place right now where we wouldn't have to do anything like that. You got guys like Josh Shaw. I mean, we have so many corners, it's ridiculous. So I think that they're going to stick to what they have, which once we get into the draft and everything, I kind of possibly seeing them. I can possibly see them taking a corner, but more so like later in the draft, kind of like Josh Shaw.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think it's going to affect the cornerback room at all. I totally agree with you as far as on that. It just I tell people whatever. It's kind of like when he went through the situation as far as with the slap and everything. A lot of people jumped to judgment and was like, "Oh, you should just cut him." Blah blah blah. He was worse than Dre, which was not true. People need. I don't know which people will pull the stats on that. He was not worse than Dre this year. Whatever. Did he have a down year compared to last year? Yes, he did. So I'm absolutely agree with that. But as far as that statistical reason compared to any other corner that we got, it was not that bad. But that's one thing though. Let's get to the next subject though. What else you got for us?
With that being said, let's get into the free agency period, man. I know that in years past it seems like we don't really get any clues onto which direction that the Bengals organization is really going into without that free agency. And I mean, this is a year that me and you both, we've talked about this ad nauseum almost, onto what they should do, which key guys that they should bring back. Everybody knows that we have guys like Andrew Whitworth out there that's a free agent, Drake Kirkpatrick, Kevin Zeitler. Those are some of the trending topics within the Who Dat community. But then you have, some guys that may be, quote unquote expendable in a Carlos Dansby. You also have guys like, the backup dude? Who's the backup tackle? He's like the president of the NFLPA.
Eric Winston.
Eric Winston. So you got guys that are fan favorites like Rex Burkhead. So let's get into, if I had to put on the GM hat for you with free agency, what would be the way that you would go about, processing that whole free agency period?
I think it start with the trenches, to be honest. I think they are in a position that they have to re-sign Whitworth. You can't. You can't let Dalton blindside. I think that's going to be the number one priority for us on our list. Right. I think and the next thing would be Zeitler. I think that, like we both know that they don't have a history of paying guards big money. But after the season that we just had, as far as offensive line being, that's just dismantle compared to 2015. I think they in a position that they have to chuck the money up for them. I know a few people that actually know the Zeilers, and just based off this topic, just asking them about them, how they're whatever, are they money hungry type of people or nothing like that. And I get the feeling that they just want Zeilers probably gonna just want a fair deal.
Right.
And I think the Bengals gonna have to actually present it far as to him. Right. Far as everybody else, far as the Carlos Dansby, I don't think they bringing him back. I think the Bengals is kind of burnt out. We went through the threshold thinking we can bring some plug and play in, as far as older players in. I think that scenarios. I think they kind of pushing that rodeo back and moving a different direction. So I don't think he's gonna return. Who was that? The running back.
Burkhead.
Rex.
Yeah.
Rex, I actually think this is going to be interesting. I think Rex is actually going to test the market. The Bengals are actually going to make an offer to him, and it's going to be one of those leave it or take it offer. Right. But he's going to test the market, and it's going to be interesting in, where other teams look at his value. Is because right now it's a lot of decent running backs. It's easy. Running back is one of the most easiest position to find right now as far as the draft.
Right.
So somebody wanted to come in and say, Rex want $3.5-4 million a year. Will he get that?
I doubt it. I think, man, not to cut you off, but I think, like you said, when we talked about certain markets out there for free agents, when you look at this running back market, is it really a great market to be on as a free agent with so many of these prospects coming in? Like, this is one of the deepest running back classes that we've seen in a long time. So I agree with what you're saying there. Can he really command that much money?
Yeah, that's one of those. Can you really? What is your exit price? I don't think the Bengals really know. I don't think. I'm sure Rex agent gonna throw out. Try to get the most money for his client. That's a give me, but I don't know. My money. I'm leaning towards the Bengals drafting another running back, especially with we're going into Hill last year. Gio's coming off an injury. I do. And it's pretty much, and it's being said around far as in the Bengals. In the beat writer community that they are going to draft one. Right. It's just a matter of what round they choose to do it, but we just know it won't be round one.
Right. And that's the thing. When you kind of look forward, let's just look into the future a little bit. It kind of gets murky there because we've got Jeremy Hill entering into a contract year. You have Burkhead off in the market now, so it's really you're looking. And I'm not sure. I don't even think it's Cedric Pyramid. Yeah, Cedric Pyramid is a free agent too. So right now, Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill are basically your only backs, and Jeremy Hill is up next year. So I think, like you said, they have to look at, potentially, even if they do bring back Burkhead, they have to look at drafting somebody else as well.
Absolutely, they have to. It's pretty much. I think that's one of the something that we, when we first initially started talking about the draft, it wasn't really. It kind of was hidden, like running back, whatever. It wasn't, it wasn't sticking out like a sore thumb until we start noticing. We could get to the point that, okay, Gio's hurt, Hill's contract up the following year. Yeah. You got two of your other running backs are free agents. So I think it's a gimme. I think Pyramid's gonna be back though. I think they love him, respect him. And you know what? I actually gained more respect for him as well, because the whole special team. They've been saying, praising him for so long. Right. I really didn't see his value until this past year, because when he returned, the special teams, as far as picked up, whatever, as far as yardage and stuff like that, key blocks. I was like, okay, now I see why they value him. So I think he will be back though.
So what I'm gonna do is, just to make this a little bit easier, I'm gonna roll down a list of our free agents for this season, and you let me know whether you think that they'll keep them or they'll let them go. So we'll start off. We'll start off with Andrew Whitworth.
Keith.
Domata Peko.
I think it's just time to go. I think whatever. I know he's one of the fan favorites and also a favorite in the locker room. And they really love locker room leadership. I'm kind of like I don't know who made this statement though. One of the B writers made this statement though, that saying if they love him so much, why won't they just make him a coach? But I'm gonna say pass.
All right, Brandon LaFell.
I would actually bring back LaFell, even though I think they will. I'm pretty sure they're gonna take a receiver this year.
Drake Kirkpatrick.
I'll bring him back.
Kevin Zeitler.
Must gotta definitely on the top of the list.
Kevin. I mean, I already said him. Eric Winston.
Yeah, if he's cheap, I'll bring him back.
Cedric Pierman.
Yep.
Marcus Hunt.
I think that train don't move. Oh.
Wallace Gilberry.
I'll probably make a decision on him if he's still available after the draft to see where we at.
Gotcha. Brandon Thompson.
Actually, he's not a free agent. I don't know if you know that or not.
Brandon Thompson isn't? Oh, so we get to keep him for another year?
Brandon Thompson, due to Brandon Thompson was never activated, his contract rolled over this year.
Oh, wow. So he's still okay. So he's still with us. Yeah, I pretty much know your answer on this one, man. Chikey Brown.
Peace.
I don't know why they have Brandon Boykin listed here because he's not on our team anymore. I think he's on another team. Randy Bullock.
Who?
The kicker, Randy Bullock.
I would bring him out bring him back for tryouts. Yeah, whatever.
Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, for the right price.
And Zach Hoker, the other kicker that we never ended up playing. I don't even know how he's still on the roster.
I don't know. Yeah, I say no. I really don't know too much about him.
True. So, in your opinion, man, if you had to, out of our top three free agents, right? We have Dre, we have Kevin Zeitler, we have Andrew Whitworth. I think we have it's somewhere we're somewhere around the range of 40 to 50 million in cap space, basically. If you had to pick two out of those three guys, right? Which one of those two guys would you rather see the Bengals sign or retain? Let's say that.
I would have to go with both offense.
So you would have to go with Zeitler and
Whitworth. Right? I would have to give the nod to those two.
Right.
I think it's more easier for us to take care of the corner position versus trying to deal with the offensive line at this time, especially with this weak class of offensive line that's coming out.
Right. Exactly. Let's touch on some other guys that may be on the market that you would think about, bringing in to Cincy. So guys that are out there, who are some guys that you think, and I'm not sure if you've looked at some of the free agents out there, so if maybe you don't know exactly who's out there, maybe you could throw some positions out there that you think that they could kind of go after in free agency.
Okay, all right, let's shoot. I'm trying to think of, I'm not for sure who really out there. Only free agents that I really know that's out there is probably what's that, Kendall Wright,
right,
and D Jackson,
right.
That's the only two that I really know out there. You know what? I'm not for sure if the Bengals would actually would sit down actually. They probably can do Kendall Wright, but I don't think Kendall Wright is what the Bengals looking for though.
Right.
I think they are looking for it. I think they're looking for D Jackson, but D Jackson is the thing about it though. Do D Jackson, Price, and Bengals match up?
Right.
Versus going and bringing in a rookie that can do the same thing.
Right.
I'm not for sure. I can't think of D Jackson his stats, whatever, but his I would even though his stats is not as high in Washington. Right. The expectation for him wouldn't really be too high in Cincy versus him being somewhere else.
Right.
So I think it would actually be beneficial for him to look at Cincy, whatever, as far as being, saying like, hey, reach out to them.
Right.
because you got AJ Green, so most likely 9 times out of 10 you're not going to see the best corner no more versus what you do in Washington. And even if you go back to Philly, you're gonna see the best corner pretty much every week.
Right.
So.
Right. Looking at his stats from this past year,
he's never played with another superstar receiver, have he?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't really count Jeremy Maclin as a superstar. I think he's a really good receiver, but he's kind of in the same line as Desean. But looking at his stats from last year, it looks like he had 56 receptions, 1,000 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. So he really didn't put too much in the red zone as far as scoring on the receiving ends of touchdowns, but he definitely had a couple of games, it seems like, where he went off for like a couple hundred yards. And I did do some investigating and digging around just on some guys that I think that the Bengals could potentially approach. Some of those guys are J.C. Tretter. He's actually a center for the Packers, which I thought that when I initially looked at this market at center, it was pretty weak, but this guy kind of slipped under the radar. He's a guy that's pretty decent out of Green Bay, but the knock on him is that he's injured a lot, so he's kind of injury prone. So, I mean, I don't know if they really like him from that standpoint, but he could be a guy like LaFell that was hurt last year that, they take the gamble on, throw him a little deal, a 1-year prove-it deal to see what he can do, see if he can stay healthy, and see where it goes from there. But he was actually pretty high on Pro Football Focus's list as far as their grade, which I thought was pretty interesting. So he's a guy that they could possibly look at. I also had linebacker Kevin Minter. I believe he was drafted a couple years ago. He played for the Cardinals. He actually used to start, and I don't know what happened there, but seemed like he was kind of moved to a reserve role. He's only about 26, 27 years old. So he still has, it seems to me, a lot of time left to play. He had a couple years where he had over 100 tackles. So he could be one of those bargains that we could look at if they decide. Because honestly, to me, they need to look at 2 linebackers, outside linebacker and inside. So he could possibly be a guy that they could look at there. I also have Dominique Easley. I know that we looked at him last year. So I saw that, he spent a year in Los Angeles with the Rams. Maybe he wants to actually pay for a winner now. I don't know how much they really signed him for last year, but I don't think it was too much. Greg Zuerlein, and I know the beat writers from the BBP are pretty high on the Bengals going after him. He's a pretty decent kicker from the Rams as well. He's a guy that's pretty young, and with the draft, the top kicker that was coming out, he decided to return to Auburn.
Auburn kid, okay,
yeah, the Auburn kid. So unfortunately, he's going back. So his market could be pretty decent. And then, like you said earlier, Kendall Wright and Desean Jackson. And to me, Kendall Wright, I think, could find a niche here, but I feel like he would still end up having the same problem here as he did in Tennessee, where he's good, but there's not necessarily a specific role for him. So I'd really, if they were to go the free agent receiver route, I'd really like to see what they would do with Desean Jackson. And like you said, it's going to come down to the asking price. Obviously, if he has to play with us, he's not going to be able to make that 10, that 8, that 9. I mean, we might be able to get him at 7.
And the thing about that, D-Jax, I don't know if you follow him on Instagram and stuff D-Jax like his money.
Right.
He and I don't have no problem with that. He definitely likes his money.
Right.
But I think the receiver market for the Bengals is I feel there's 3 type of receivers out there. You have your speedster, you got your possession guy, and you got your guy your one that can do it all, such as what we got with AJ and stuff like that. You're all around. So right now, I think we're in a position right now. We have our all around guy, but we got 2 possession receivers. I think Boyd and LaFell are closely to almost the same type of receiver.
Right.
They both can can find ways, niches, and as far as when they're running their routes to get separation.
Right.
That's why kind of when somebody the other day mentioned Boyd is a speedster, That's why I'm kind of like, whoa, where's I mean, he was never known that. He was, that's why I call him a mini Hush, because he's solid, and everything. You need that third down, he's gonna get you. He also he's not slow, but he's not fast. He's one of the, he's one of those guys that you play receiver. A lot of people that play receiver are not always the fastest one. It's all about your route running. Your route runner can create separation and also give you that space. So it's not always about who can you outrun somebody.
Right. Right.
A lot of people think that all you got to outrun somebody. That's not true.
Right.
It's many factors that factor in as far as playing receiver and stuff like that.
Right, and like you said, even if you had that field speed, that doesn't necessarily mean that your route running is good.
Doesn't always translate.
Right.
It doesn't always translate. So that's the biggest thing. So I think the Bengals feel that they do have their possession receiver as far as one boy, and I think LaFleur did an excellent job. I take nothing from him what he did this year, right. and everybody like, well, if you got LaFleur, you shouldn't draft a receiver. That's not true. We can go back to what was that 2014, the Indianapolis game, whatever. That shows you that you can never have a receiver.
Not even just that. If you look at the second half of this year when AJ was gone, I mean, clearly we needed another receiver. But, the Desean thing is interesting to me just because I remember when he first got to Washington, and this was before they kind of were successful, they were kind of struggling, and I remember he did this post, and it was like, you can't do dope-ish with garbage people, and it was like him, and I don't know if he was really taking a shot at Kirk Cousins or whatever, but he was basically saying that, he wasn't happy with not winning, and when you look at where he comes from, Philadelphia, you think about all those years he was there, that's when they were at their peak. So to me, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, he could go back to Philadelphia. Well, if you go back to Philadelphia now, yeah, you might get your money, but, are you really going to go to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback? Assessing that Philadelphia from when he was there versus Philadelphia now is like two totally different things.
Yeah, it's a whole different era.
So to me, it's like, it's going to really come down to how much does he want to win? Does he really want to sell out and just get his money? Does he want to go the Carmelo Anthony route? Or do you want to take this pay cut, you know what I'm saying, take this $6.5 million per year over the next 3 years and have a chance of actually winning and being on a team where you could potentially be the missing piece in the puzzle for, this team? Because I think that when you bring in a guy like Desean Jackson, that's like one of those guys that automatically makes your team that much better. I mean, now he is a guy that you have to worry about staying healthy, which I kind of thought that this year. I was like, okay, was he banged up this year? And I kind of went back and looked at it, and he actually played in 15 games. It was the year before, I think, where he only played in like 8 games. But every other game, you would think, or every other season, you would think that he only, played in like 8 games or 10 games or 12 games. He actually has played in 14 or 15 games the last couple of seasons. So I think he would be, the only way that I could really see that happening is if there's some kind of middle ground between both sides. He decides to, and I don't know how his contract situation is, being that he got that huge Philadelphia deal, and then after that, he signed that Washington deal. So it's kind of like that.
What is the deal? What is his deal in Washington? You know what it was?
I'm not sure. I want to say he's getting like $6.5 million right now. I think it's like $6.5 million, but you have to take into account he kind of has like that Michael Johnson situation where he was caked off by Tampa or whatever, and then on top of that money, he also got the money that he's getting right now.
So he's actually eating on 2 deals.
Right,
I got you.
Right. So I mean, it's like, is Desean really gonna chase his money? Is he gonna want to play for a winner? And that I really don't know. He has a connection to Marvin Lewis, but when you hear Marvin Lewis talk about him, he talks about how he knew his parents and all of that, but it's like, dude, you had like 2 chances to get him, especially the last time when he was cut and he was coming at a cheaper price. Marvin didn't even go after him. And then
I think the reason why Marvin didn't go after him was because of the Marvin Jones. They felt comfortable with what the receiver core was at that time. I think that's the reason why the Bengals didn't didn't touch him the last time. I mean, the first time is just the most epic one, though, as far as them just picking Jerome Simpson. I almost lost my mind that day, that night, whatever. It was just, I couldn't, I don't know. To this day, I still don't. Next time I run into Marvin Lewis, I'm really going to I'm going to ask him that question, like, Jerome Simpson, Desean Jackson, what was the deciding factor? I mean, can you speak on it? Can you tell me? I mean, as a fan, I really want to know. I think only he knows that, whatever, or him, or I just don't get it,
department, though. I don't, and it's crazy because the article that I found where they were actually kind of talking about his relationship with Desean Jackson, the man still said that he would take Jerome Simpson over Desean Jackson. Like, if he could do it all over again. And I'm like, there's no way. But
Duke wasn't in on that the draft at that time, was he?
He actually was. Duke has been here for a while. I don't know if he had the hat
I don't think Duke had control of the draft.
I doubt that he had control back then. I doubt that he had control.
I think that was more the Mike Brownish, whatever, type. That was kind of like more the Mike Brownish, maybe Marvin Lewis, whatever, maybe a collective, maybe whoever whoever the scouts was at the time.
Oh my good! I hated that year, man, because everything fell in our favor. That was the year where like no receivers were taken in the first round.
Yeah,
and I was like, man. I mean, it could have been worse. They could have drafted Malcolm Kelly, who was like a super bust. But it's like Desean Jackson was so good. It was just like, man.
I was praying that year. I'm like, oh, Desean Jackson's still there, whatever, because that leading up to it, they were showing his highlights from Cal.
Right.
But you can tell that they start paying attention to Cal, whatever, as far as the Pac-10 receivers.
Right.
The quality of the Bengals, whatever. I don't know. I wonder who was they scout as far as on the West Coast though. But they pay attention to those Pac-12 receivers, so that's why I think you made the whole thing about who's the receiver out of USC right now that's coming out.
Juju Chester, however you say it.
Yeah, that's kind of got my eye like, man. I'm like, hey, Mike, you might be on to something with that because they do love those Pac-12, whatever, as far as receivers, and it's gonna be interesting to see how these receiver group that's come out, what they 40 is. I think Bengals gonna be paying extra attention to their 40. I mean, the 40 is gonna. Route run is still going to be a major thing, but the 40 times whatever is going to be one of the top of the list. So probably whoever those top 5 receivers that's coming out that's got speed, probably looking at maybe getting one of those guys.
It's funny that you say that because you probably we both stocked the Bengals website, but they just posted this recent article on there where I think it was Hobson breaking down. Duke's whole process, like where they have like these cue cards that are like a specific color. They start out yellow, and then the closer that they get to the draft, the guys that they really like, they use the orange card. Where anyways, and this was one thing that I kind of took into account when I was making Prime when they were interviewing Duke last year. But Duke actually really isn't high on the 40 time. Like what he said, the way that he uses the 40 time is like right now they have their scout system that goes and gets like the 40 times for what cats ran in the spring. And then like after they go through the combine, they actually have a marking for when they go through the combine what their 40 time is. And then if they don't run the 40 time at the combine, then he has their pro day 40 or whatever, right? But he said what he does with the 40 is he'll look at their 40 and then look at what their speed is like, their field speed is like on the film. So he likes to take the 40
he's
time.
He's more the cone shuttle type of guy.
Right.
They want to see they want to see which they use the cone shuttle to actually try to emulate as far as your game time speed. Yeah, he used. I remember him mentioning that last week in Indianapolis at the combine when because last year was the first year that Marvin Lewis really didn't do the questionnaire at the combine like he usually do. They actually gave it to Duke. In which he kind of answered those particular questions. It's gonna be. I'd be very interested to see what he say this year, next month. I was actually trying to get tickets to that, man. They did 7,000 tickets to fans this year for the combine.
Man, that's crazy.
And they went fast.
Right. But they do, like you said, they do like fast receivers. But he said like say for instance, somebody go out and run like a 4.2, like a D.D. Westbrook or our boy, what's his name, John Ross or whatever. You know, he's probably gonna look at their 40 time and then go back to the actual film and see, okay, does this 40 time equal the speed that I'm seeing? But they definitely like fast receivers, which is why I kind of had a feeling that they weren't gonna go with Treadwell last year because they like dudes that can run. But
actually, I think that was they system worked pretty well last year. How everything played out to their benefit because none of the people besides your boy from old boy from Old State really made any difference this year. Whether it been the systems that some of these receivers were playing in, but a lot of them really didn't meet their potential. Besides him and Tyler Boyd.
Right.
So it's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be interesting to see how this play out in that regards, though.
But it's crazy because, like, just getting back to Desean, piggybacking, and we'll leave this alone because it's really like a pipe dream or whatever. But when you listen to what they say that they want, it's almost like that's Desean Jackson. It's like we're looking for somebody that can take the top off of a defense. We're looking for somebody that
playmaker,
right? A playmaker, somebody that can take this pressure off of AJ. So. I mean, I really like if that actually happened, which this is, like I said, a pipe dream. Like, I really would want to know how opposing defenses would guard that. Like, I really don't see that being something that you can kind of stop. Like,
it would be tough. I mean, it would definitely be tough because the thing about it, though, I mean, it allows that somebody's gonna eat that game, especially if you got a healthy Tyler Eifert back. Exactly. Somebody's going to eat. You know, it's no doubt about that.
Right.
Just going back off what you're saying, if I said in this year's draft, is there a Desean Jackson? I would say yeah.
Right.
The person that comes to mind is John Ross. That is the younger Desean Jackson right now. The guy, he's pretty much the same size. I mean, he has the size, the speed. He's a playmaker.
Right.
And I think it just this year is so freaking important that every pick and decision that they make has to be right.
Right.
It has to be right. That number one pick has to be money.
Thank you for listening to New Stripe City. That was part 1 of my series of interviews with Nardo. Stay tuned for part 2. Where we'll be touching on the draft as well as what the Bengals can do to get back to the playoffs. As usual, we're going to end this with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys comment under the videos. Like us on Facebook. You know the drill. We're on iTunes, and you can also find us on Podcast Garden. This is New Stripe City. And your boy Ace Boogie signing out.
Always business. Never personal. Here's the 3rd and 7. And McCarron goes down the field.